G, welcome to our meaningful conversation with Albatross. We have known each other for a few years. Last time we had video series together was a webinar 2018 or something.
Was a long time ago.
Yeah, you remember that. So welcome back, and I want to hear your story. What you've done and all these kind of things, because I've seen you created different companies. You have you scaled to 9 million, almost 9 million annual recurring revenue. You have a bunch.
We crossed 10.
Yeah. So yes, welcome here.
Thanks a lot for having me, Marcus. Super excited. I mean, we've been knowing each other for quite some time, so it's always a pleasure to be chatting, and looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, same here. So I think let's start it. First off, tell me the story. You started as a chemical engineer, did that thing, then you started Lemlist. Tell me briefly, start from the beginning, and especially how you grow the company from last time we spoke, 2018, to the level you are at right now.
Yeah. So essentially, I'm a chemical engineer, as you mentioned, which has nothing to do with the SaaS that we are building. So back in 2015, I traveled the world for a year after my chemical engineering degree, and this is when I realized that I wanted to have a lot of freedom, and to me, having freedom was similar things to starting a business. So I thought, okay, to start a business, I need to be good at business. So I went back to business school and got a master in marketing. and after that, I started a few business. So mostly failed business. One with my dad, which was t-shirt business.
But if you're jumping there, what was your parents' reaction? I mean, you went for the chemical engineering kind of thing, and because that's very STEM heavy major, then travel everywhere, then you go to marketing, do startups, and not every startup is successful. What was their reaction?
Well, to be honest, I feel like I failed fast, which I think was the most important part, meaning that we worked with my dad for about 4 to 5 months on the project, and then I felt like it was not a good, because I had another opportunity with someone from my master to start a lead generation agency. Oh, yeah. So I was like, okay, why not? And this is only by starting this lead generation agency that I realized, that I could actually make real money online. And then I was like, okay, being and selling service is really nice. And I see the potential of scaling it. But I was I think maybe this is my geeky type of mindset. And I was like, okay, I want to start build software, etc. So I met with my 2 co-founders who were a bit older than me. So at that time I was maybe 27 or something, 26 maybe.
Yeah.
And Vianney and Francois were around 40 years old. They've been coding since they were 5 or 6. So after that, I was like, okay, let's do something together. You guys are the technical geniuses, and I'm supposed to be the biz guys, even though I'm an engineer as well. So we just started in 2018. The first line of codes was in January 2018 for Lemlist. And now we grew. We just actually passed 10 million in annual recurring revenue.
Congrats! That's a lot. Was it almost 4 years, right?
Yes, 3.5 years, I would say. It's almost 4 years.
That's really good.
Yeah. It's we started the company with $1,000 and never raised a single dollar. So we're quite proud of it.
We're coming to that later because I want to hear the story when you turn down, the investment and these kind of things.
Yeah, sure.
But when did you guys see? When do you realize the company was actually taking off? When do you see the real growth? And
to be honest,
what made you see that?
I think, to be honest, it's very difficult to understand how big things are getting, because at some point, for you, whenever you're building on the day-to-day a company, nothing goes fast enough. It's you're putting so much effort into things, and then you don't see the results on the revenue, and you're like, what the fuck, and because at first, but I think our first months, maybe we got $1,000 in MRR. Yeah. Then you get 20% growth. So you're like, yeah, that's huge. But actually you go to 1,200, which is still yeah. And then, we kept that really good growth, which was very encouraging. but it was never like a doubling months over months. We always kept a 2-digit months over months growth rate, which is really great whenever you start hitting like the $100,000 MRR and you go to 120, then you're like, okay, fuck, like this is getting very quick.
Let's get real money.
But
that's good.
Yeah, that's definitely good. And I think like the day I realized that we actually built something that was really awesome was when we reached 1 million in ARR. Like we were like, holy shit, like it's happening. We're in the million now, and things are getting bigger. And I feel like over time, what really like pushed me was the community. As we grow, the community grew. People were talking even more about it, and we started feeling the traction.
But on the question there, which I mean, Lemlist obviously have grown very well. So why have you guys started like the Lempod, Lemkit, and all these kind of, like that doesn't make sense. Make sense to me.
Yeah, to be honest, that doesn't make sense at all. Like we've always been doing things that we shouldn't, but I guess this is part of our DNA. Like people tell you to focus on one single project. We did many. People tell you to hire people once you crossed 1 million in ARR that have really like business experience that have done it in the past, but we actually hired mainly like people who were willing to learn, and we train them. So it's always, about all these things that people are telling us to do or that we should do. And I feel like we like doing the opposites.
That question would I think interesting, because I know we was talking like, you hire quite not inexperienced, but like, they don't need to work in a B2B SaaS. I know it's hard to recruit in B2B SaaS because like, it's not that many companies in, it maybe more in Paris, but in Stockholm it's quite limited. Like, what's your take on the recruitment in general?
It's very difficult, to be honest. I think this is first things first. I don't feel like I'm a HR expert. So for those listening, just take my word for what it is. But my feeling is that overall HR is just like something that takes time, and that is all about defining clear goals. Because at first, I was mainly hiring people based on, like a fit and saying like, okay, are you willing to learn? What are you willing to sacrifice if you want to level up? What's your passion? What are the things that you really enjoy? And are you ready to work in a challenging environment? And if people were saying yes, I would be like, okay, awesome. And then I would spend like a lot of time with them in order to train them, help them like level up. And it worked out really well for us. And we've been lucky.
But I like, because you how many people are you guys right now? 40? Something like that?
Yes, a bit less, because we had to let go a few people. So I think we're like 35.
That's my second question. Like, when do you like see, oh, this is people I think I'll keep, and this is like probably not working? Like, how does it work in that way for you?
I think for us, this is the toughest time. Like we just went through that, and the toughest time is to think like, okay, the company is really growing like crazy. You're actually like killing your milestones. You're super profitable. It's just like the best life ever. You love everyone in your company, but some people, you don't feel like they are a fit anymore. And this is tough, because what you can say as a CEO, usually when you cross 10 million and even before, you shouldn't be as operational that I am. I always have my hands in the dirt, and I'm
well aware.
and to be honest, like the easiest thing to do is just to say, okay, it's fine. We have the money. We can hire more people, and that's it. But for me, what matters the most is that the foundation are the most solid ever. So we spend time with all the heads off trying to figure out like, okay, who is a fit, who is not a fit. For those who are not a fit, how can we help them find a job in other companies so they make the transition? And just like, do this thing like step by step and see how and what we can do. So it was really tough, but for us, it was just a matter of, based on the objectives that we set for people, what are their impacts, and are they like, making the team better also. And based on that, we decided like, okay, here are the person we want to keep, and here are the person that will help transition to something they are more fit.
Recruitment is always hard. And another question I think maybe see a little bit different, but essentially it's about like, I know you guys spend a lot on community building as a strategy to grow. So like, I would have heard a little bit like, what's the strategy from market perspective or in a company's perspective to grow where you are right now? Because some people, focus on category creating after a certain point. a lot of branding. Some focus heavily on video content, which turn out to branding. Some like you guys, probably community building. Like, what's your have been your bets here?
Yeah, to be honest, I think it started not because I was like, okay, let's build a community, it's gonna be awesome. It's just because it was just Vianney and Francois and me doing like support, and I kept receiving like all these messages were just the same. And in the end, I was the only one handling support after a few months because Vianney and Francois were too focused on the tech. And then I was like, okay, fuck, I'm just gonna create a Facebook group where I will answer most questions. And then I started realizing that people didn't really know, like needed more than just answers to their question, but they needed tips, they needed advice. So I started writing content, then posting it in the community. I was the only one posting at first. And then people started to find value. And step by step, people started answering each other questions. And then after that, it started to kind of grow. And very quickly, we became like the biggest group ever around the sales automation. And it just was like, to be honest, not something that I started thinking like, okay, it's going to be our competitive advantage. Let's go for it. It's just because I was lazy answering like all the questions on the support.
I take it from like, it was actually from a support perspective that turned out the community, because like we also had a community back in days when it was like, then we also had that kind of, movement that way. And then we growth it, but we also took quite a lot of pivots in our, or target market and these kind of things. But here's another one. Like, I know you focus a lot on personal branding yourself, and I think that ties very tight into like Lemlist itself. And I know you have a great YouTube channel. By the way, guys, follow him on YouTube. It's a great channel. He's like talking about the stories of Lemlist and all the things around entrepreneurship. But how do you utilize your own branding together with Lemlist, because I know you also do masterclasses and these kind of things. How does that, works together?
Yeah, it's, to be honest, I think like if you look at the way we see things is I just look at my personal story. It's like, how exactly did I come up to work in SaaS? For me, it's when I read an article from a guy who was basically detailing step by step of the things he did, how he acquired his customers. So he was documenting everything. And I was like, damn, this is amazing. Like it gave me so much energy to get started that I thought, okay, I need to do the same, document our journey, do this step by step, just because I want people to have the same vision that I had back in the day. So the first step is really how do you inspire people and how do you make them take action? And then when I started like to write content, I realized, okay, the more I write content, the more all this complex stuff that I have in my mind, it's forced me, like to write them down and make them like super clear and super sharp. So the more I was writing, the more I realized that, okay, here are all the things that I've done. Here are like all the things that I've done wrong and my mistakes and the things that I should never do. And the fact that I was writing it, it felt like, oh shit, I was fucking stupid, doing that. And I learned from it. And step by step, you create like this connection with people. And connections and relationships are the first step of anyone buying something. If you trust someone, then it's much easier for you like to buy their product. It's the same. Like right now, what I just purchased like iPhone like 13 Pro. I had the iPhone 12 Pro before. I don't even know like if there is a huge difference. But to be honest, I'm like, I love Apple. Like all my products are Apple. Like I love that. And why I trust them? I trust them to do like good things, always yeah.
But this is good, because that comes an interesting question that I think a lot of SaaS companies struggle with in general, because it's like an attribution model, and you have like the gated gardens, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these things, which is hard to attribute because like a lot of things come from recommendation and word of mouth, and that's very hard to attribute. I mean, it's possible, but you don't have a one-to-one attribution model for it. So to the question, like, how do you guys handle like, your attribution model for when you're, getting new customers, or do you even looking at it, or like,
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love that question because I love to quote Gary Vee on that. And the question he asked is, what's the ROI of your mom? Like your mom, she spent time educating you, teaching you good manners, etc. Like she made you become the man you are today. And how do you measure that ROI? What do you track? And to me, it's exactly the same thing in business. Like, I don't think people lack data. I think people lack guts. And the truth is, like, a lot of people, because they don't have enough guts, they rely everything they do on data without having any like sense of critics. You know, it's like they don't have like really good judgment. Sometimes I see people like showing me just a piece of data that gives a specific results, and then, you know, like they see correlations in things, but correlation doesn't mean that you know, like it will always work. Like, you can find correlations between pretty much anything in life. Like, number of raindrops is I don't know how many times the Bitcoin increased in the last years, whatever. You know, like,
no, I follow it. I think, and I think this, to be honest, quite a big problem in marketing in general, because you need to prove your value in a sense, right? And I know you, as a CEO and founder, you truly believe in marketing, obviously, but for those who don't, I would say, like, have that kind of, you know, clear visual of marketing, then it could be very, you know, only data driven points you're talking about, and then I think it's probably hard. How, like, if going like from your marketing department reporting to you, like, what are they reporting on?
So basically, like, what I look at is the MRR. What I care about is MRR, so monthly recurring revenue. And then after that, I just look at the funnel. So how many people signed up, how many people activated, and how many people become paid customers. That's the only metrics I look at. I don't care about the rest. It's when I write content, I just focus on it to be the best one possible. When I do videos, I try to make them like the best as possible. But I don't look at views. I don't look at all these things. Like, I really don't care. I think
that's in my opinion a good view, because like I hear from question for content marketers out there, like, hey, I create this kind of, you know, blog post or whatever, how should I be measured on that one? And my answer usually is very, very hard, because I think some of those have, you know, lagging effects.
Of course.
And you don't create a content piece, in my opinion, for a certain metric, right? You're doing
for content, you can check, for example, like the SEO, on which keyword are you ranking, how
That's
many, like,
of course.
But again, you know, like, in the end, it's you know, like, I see people saying, hey, look, we're ranking number 1 on this. Yeah, fair enough. But what do you conclude? Like, is it getting any signups? Maybe no. And now, you know, with the cookie tracking, we have like less and less accurate data. So to me, I'm like, you know what? In the end, just focus on making the best articles that will be shared as many in many places as possible, and just focus on that. Focus on the quality. Focus on the amount of feedback you receive. Trying to make it always better. Bring the most value, and then you will see that people start talking about you and recommend you, and it will have an impact on the MRR overall.
Yeah, that's what it sounds. I have also one more interesting topic that we need to talk about is LinkedIn. You know, we care about LinkedIn as well. We spend some time writing things there. I think it's a great place to communicate and educate. And I know a lot of people from your company is very active and you know, get huge reach. You're getting huge reach yourself. What is that like? Is a forced story from like the top down, or it's like, hey, everyone should do it? Like, what's the story behind it?
It's something we encourage at the company. We basically explain people that the more you write things, and writing in a sense is a skill that everyone should master. Because to me, writing is basically putting your complex thoughts into something simple. And the more you write,
if you don't write well, you don't have clear thoughts.
No, and that's true. I think this is very true. And it also, like, I feel like this is a great thing for marketers, because whenever you write a post, you have a direct reflection of the quality of your writing. Meaning that if your post is really great, if you're like telling good story with feelings, etc., you're getting huge engagement, which is a good reflection of the things that you are doing. And to me, what's important is when I see people doing this on a regular basis and really increasing. So, sorry, this is something that we try to also measure in our team. So some people, for example, have in their KPIs that they define themselves, but is to say, okay, I want to post 4 times a week. And their goal for the quarter is to post 4 times a week. It's not getting views. It's just about this, you know, activity. And then it becomes, and then it becomes like a challenge between the team and everyone, like kind of pushing themselves to do like really like smart and ambitious things. And step by step, it's really like impacting everyone. And then, we have like people telling us, oh, Lemlist, we're seeing you everywhere. Like I saw a post from Nadia, Vuk, Ena, etc., etc. So it's great.
No, I don't follow you because like the thing I see is that, I mean, usually you probably use Instagram as well. You're scrolling through things and so on. I do think LinkedIn have been more enjoyable the last, I would say 1.5 years, something like that. You actually enjoy scrolling more, because before it was, only company updates with, boring things,
Yeah, that's true.
And now it's actually more storytellings. And what I like at least is, it's not about, selling the company all the time. It's actually about maybe what you're working on, your role, or at least what you're passionate about, essentially. And, what you're passionate about creates the best stories. At least that's from my view.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I feel like once you have a platform that helps people learn, that helps people connect with each other, then, LinkedIn can be a really great content-driven platform. The only thing that I don't really appreciate on LinkedIn and that I prefer on Twitter is that on LinkedIn, like people connect with you, and when they connect, you start seeing a bit more their content. And the truth is, a lot of people, like I tend to accept everyone who write like personalized messages when they want to connect. But the truth is, I would love to follow only the person I like the content, because sometimes you find like really poor content because you just connected with some people that are, sharing their company page update, for example.
Yeah, so if you have like 20,000 connection on LinkedIn,
exactly,
you don't get tons of great content probably.
Exactly. So that's why I like this thing on Twitter where you can actually follow only the specific person, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I haven't thought about it too much, but I probably don't have as much followers as you have either. But okay, we have our few things left. One thing that I think we need to talk about is the fundraising thing. I mean, you have talked about it a lot. Your company's growing. You got valuation of like $100+ million, right? You got in cash for like 30 million or whatever it was. Like, you turn down no. What's up? Like, and what's the plan forward?
That's a really good question. So
it's a million-dollar question for sure.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, back in the days, for us, we had started the YouTube channel. I had a lot of entrepreneurs reaching out to me, asking me advice about fundraising, etc. So I thought, okay, why not do a series about it? And I interviewed like tons of really, really like famous founders, then some VCs. And then afterwards I was like, okay, let's do something crazy and say out loud that we're going to raise, but just to document it. And if we receive an offer, we will say no. Yeah. And the truth is, things got really real. VCs got super excited. And in the end, we wanted to say no, just to show to people that even if you don't fundraise, you can build a really high growing startup, even a scale up, and that you can really like do things differently. And doing things differently is the key to, I think, like stand out, build relationships, find your market, find your niche. And I just wanted, like to send a message also, to all people who think that fundraising is linked to success, that there are other routes and that you don't need millions to actually be happy, launch a healthy company, and do something, a bit crazy from time to time. So that was like kind of the story, and it went really like viral. There were some crazy things.
It went really viral. I was thinking like first I would probably like, this is, it's a setup thing, right? But then I understand it probably get quite real because it become real offers and so on. And
definitely.
They're sitting there like, fuck, what to do now?
And to be honest, during this process, I've actually like learned so many things that the entire like thing was just amazing, and the connection that I had after that were like really, really great. And what's next, to be honest, is right now we have crossed 10 million. So I feel like when you reach 1 million, it's the only way that you can see to like the 10 million. But once you reach 10 million, this is the only way to know that you can reach 100.
So what's next milestone now?
Next milestone would be to reach like 100 million, but I would probably announce the different things, because doing 10x from now to 100, it's going to take a bit of time.
Take a year.
Yeah. a few years. And the thing is, like, it's super exciting because we're hiring a lot. We're like structuring the team. We have a lot of different projects. So we have Lempire, and on Lempire we have our multiple projects that we want to launch. So it's going to be really, really exciting.
Oh, that's all good. Okay, this was basically the questions. I just have one thing left in this session, like, 3 things you can tell other marketers or, entrepreneurs, whatever it is, you decide.
3 things. First thing, I think it's build your audience as soon as possible, whether it's starting a newsletter, doing a podcast, writing on LinkedIn, documenting your journey, whatever it is, just do it and build your audience first, because this is something that you will keep for your entire life and that you can always build a business on top of. And to me, that's like most important things. Second thing that I would say, I think is just, I like the Nike thing, which is just do it. So don't be really like afraid of, like getting started and all these type of things. A human being, like needs momentum, and to create momentum, there is always this phase where it's the first step where you kind of like lose the balance, which feels very uncomfortable. But once you've done the first step, everything becomes much easier. So do this first step, just do it, get started. And probably the third thing, which I think also is really important and is part of our DNA, and it's do things that you shouldn't. That's for me the most important. All the advice people give you, even mine, are based on my own interpretations and life story. You have a very different one, and you should do the things that people tell you not to, because this is how you will stand out. This is how you'll be different, and this is how your message will resonate with your audience.
Great words from you, G. Like, super happy to have you here, and I'm pretty sure with you another role later, maybe in Paris.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man.
Yeah, super. Thank you for being here.